Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, after only the one off week from the limited series, it is time for the SUDSPEED GT3 Endurance Championship to get underway in the open capacity here tonight. It is Silverstone. We are in Northamptonshire in England for round number 1. And I tell you what, this is going to be a challenge, particularly if those heavens open. But for more on that, live to David Haynes with the weather. David, I'm kidding, of course. You
might be in Northamptonshire, but I'm in Buckinghamshire, like half the track is, because the dividing line between the two counties is down the middle of the racetrack. I think the new pits and the old pits are in different counties. So I hope you're enjoying Nottinghamshire, but I'm loving Buckinghamshire, where the weather is pretty nice. 0% chance of rain all throughout. It's 21 degrees and sunny, which makes it the nicest day of the year in the UK.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a little bit too nice and too fancy for England. What is this? The nicer parts of England? It doesn't get summertime weather. Apparently, it does. Last week, we ended up with a safety car at an inopportune time, bunched the field back up together, and made for an exciting run to the flag. What does tonight have in store, though, for the drivers that are going to be challenging Silverstone here tonight? Qualifying's underway. We are the bulk of the way through that one, and we'll have results for you here in just a few moments. But to the track map, Dave, you can talk us a little bit more through that county boundary.
I'm literally just looking at a different map for where it runs, but people from the UK will tell you, oh, it's so far away from London. And I'll tell you, like, QR's further away from Brisbane, and this is from London, but whatever. The dividing line between Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire actually runs sort of between the Loop and Maggots Beckett's there. So if you draw a line between turn 5 and turn 12, that's approximately where the northern half is in West Northamptonshire, and the Grand Prix pits are in Buckinghamshire. It's a really high average speed circuit. 4 long straights, the Pit Straight, Wellington Straight, the Old Pit Straight, and the Hangar Straight, connected by quite a lot of high speed corners and changes of direction. The only really slow parts of the track is breaking into 3 and 4 Village in the Loop, and also breaking into turn 16 at the end. Other than that, so much time spent in 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, wide open throttle and leaning on the tyres.
Yeah, and it's going to be a long, challenging lap whereby you do lean on those tyres for excessive periods of time as well. What's that going to look like in terms of the tyre where only the drivers will be able to tell us? One of the big things that we're starting to see is the pop-up of the Mustang in terms of its dominance at the moment. It seems to be towards the top end of the pecking order, as does the McLaren. But in terms of the calendar for 2025 season number 2 for the Open calendar, again, proudly brought to you by SUDSPEED for the back half of this season. Silverstone here tonight on the 31st of August. Only 2 weeks away, we get to the next round. It's going to be from Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at the Bend. Watkins Glen International will be over a month after that round, and have a look at how packed together the back end of the championship is. Road Atlanta from the 16th of November, 2 weeks later, Twin Ring Motegi, and then only 1 week after that will be the Fuji Speedway to round out the calendar. But that is just the problem that we've got here when we're trying to pack the entire second half of the season effectively into, well, today's the last day of winter, tomorrow begins spring, and effectively, what, three and a half months we're trying to pack the 6 rounds to finish off the championship into?
Yeah, something like that to get us to December 7th.
So for tonight, I believe we'll just be a few moments away from having the conclusion here of the qualifying results coming our way as well. But how about that? We do actually have qualifying results coming our way. And like we said, Mustangs are going to dominate the top end of the championship. We expect that to be the case for the bulk of the results at the moment. It just seems to be the car that's popping above the rest. It's Damon Woods who enters the series and puts the car straight up and onto pole position. Although for those of you who know Damon, that will come as no surprise. The big surprise though is Dean Mackay. 2/1000ths of a second away from nabbing a pole position. He will be over the moon with that one. That is a supreme result for him. Zach Rattray White will be sitting back there in third with a little bit of a shock, knowing that he could have been a touch closer to his teammate. Richard Mitchum will line up alongside of him in all Mustangs on the front 2 rows. Row number 3 brings us Lewis Gradehead in the Vermilion Esports car, alongside of Lachlan Cable in the first of the Evolution Racing Team cars. Again, Mustang on row number 3. Row number 4 is going to slide us 1 row further back to 7th and 8th on the grid as they roll in. For Adam Wright, who will be the first of the non-Mustangs in the McLaren for One Performance Racing, and Andrew Scordelis will line up alongside of his teammate in another one of those Mustangs. Rounding out the top 10 though, Stefan McCartan, second of the McLarens, and in behind him it's going to be Adam Hughes in the OPR Mustang as well.
Sure looked like a Ferrari to me. Sam Sutton's in 11th in the Mustang. Stuart Ellis 12th in the Mercedes. Then Dylan Shepherd will start 13th. Ethan Bass will start 14th. 15th on the grid, Great Scott. 0.999 of a second away from pole is James Scott. Eli Donaldson will start from 16th. 17th for Angus Lawford and 18th for Trent Allen, still rocking the V10 Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Matt Webber in 19th and Nick Carroll in 20th.
Round out that top 20. Outside the top 20 though, we'll get a little bit further back, is going to be that of 21st place Mike Pepper in another one of the Lamborghini. Stuart Shaw will line up alongside of him in another of the Mustangs for row number 11. Will Buchanan, again, the Lamborghini is starting to pop back a little bit into vogue. Adam Jepson will line up alongside of him in another one of the Mercedes. Matt Arnold is going to be the next entry for TriStar Racing, nearly 1.5 seconds off the pace, and Tommy Wallace will be one of the BMWs back there in 26th position, 13th row on the grid. Bobby Camo made the team switch in between seasons. He now joins ITT Revolution E-Racing in the Mercedes and Robert Crisdale's Lamborghini in behind. We'll go back to the last row inside the 30, and it's going to be Mustang from Mercedes as Brock Catter lines up alongside of Ben Jeffries' Bluebell Racing Team entry.
Grid continues with Jesse Butler in 31st, Vinny Nguyen in 32nd, Kurt Chapman in 33rd, Nathan Tapp in 34th, Rana Groch in 35th, Adam Burhop 36th on the grid. That continues to Trent Naylor in 37th, Andrew Dutch in 38th, Terry Marsh 39th, Brad Coates in 40th. Just a couple cars to go with Mark Foster and Benjamin Brook 41st and 42nd. Last drivers with qualifying times are Gregory Brooks and Elio Mirabella in 43rd and 44th. Safety car, hello.
Alongside of series admin and the Premier Endurance League race team Leaf McClimate to bring us to the rear end of the field. Oh, there's a few drivers in behind that didn't set times. Again, Ricky Provenzali. So the two admins will line up 46th and 47th. BJ Whiteman will come from 48th on the grid, and that rounds us out on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the grid. 47 entries to line up for round number 1. Big step up from where we were last season, and you've got to sit here and say that the series would absolutely be over the moon with that.
You certainly hope so. So they're all going to line up on the grid, and it's going to be a big, big grid for this truncated formation lap from the Hangar Straight through Stowe, through Club, Vale, and then we'll get going. And the tyres will still be very cold for everyone when we get going through the fast turns 1 and 2 for the first time.
Yeah. Short formation lap. Very, very critical to get into the way here. And don't forget tyre heat. Getting some heat into those tyres will be critical. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. If you haven't been here before, Premier Endurance League. We are in for 2 hours worth of GT3 racing. They call it the Endurance League because it is beyond that 1 hour marker. 60% is going to be our fuel limitations here tonight. Mustangs are the cars that seem to be in the ascendancy at the moment, but it looks like this might be one of those tracks that is bringing them back a fraction towards the field. Here we go. We are rolling away for the first race of the season. Field will be in Damon Woods' hands once that safety car peels off into the pit lane, but you won't see them launch until they round the final corner. And the Vale chicane, I reckon on cold tyres, is probably going to be one of the biggest, trickiest spots in the opening lap.
And it is an early pit entry that the safety car peels away from. You've still got 3 corners left to go when that safety car gets on out of here.
Here we go. This is safety car peels in, and Lewis Greathead has been informed as a pit lane start for impedance during qualifying. Field is going to line up. Here we go for the first time in the back half of 2025 for the Open drivers, and the Eclipse Sim Sports cars get a great launch. Dean Mackay left a little bit in the lurch. He's actually going to lose not just 1 but 2 spots on the run down to turn number 1. And it's going to be, sorry, Lewis Greathead, I thought we just saw was given a pit lane start. Well, he has started from the grid and he's actually up to 3rd. So he's picked away at 1 spot nice and early. We'll see if he can reply from... My apologies. Got an update on that one. It was actually Nick Carroll who was due for the pit lane start. So that explains that one a little bit further back in the field, though. Have a look at 48 cars feeding into the first couple of corners. How about this, Dave? 48 cars, 48 GT3 entries ripping around Silverstone. This is going to be one of those ones I think is going to get very, very busy in that midfield as you see him dive down and into Woodcote and Luffield, I think it is.
Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcote.
Brooklands, Luffield, that's it, yeah.
I just looked at the map, don't worry. So we're in Northamptonshire now, and of course that means, I don't know what that means. But it means we go past the old pit straight here at high speed. Cops is super high speed as well, and everyone looks to be managing the cold tyres pretty well. Like they have switched on a little bit better than we've seen in past times.
Oh, car round as we went through Cops. And I believe it might be Andrew Scordillis' Mustang on the outside as we head through Cops for the first time. He's going to lose a ton of spots as we feed down through there. Scordillis has gone from 8th, and he's fallen back to about 20th spot. Adam Burhop's had an issue on the opening lap as well, which has gotten into race control, and they're already starting to really spread out. And the critical factor will be, what does the fuel save look like? How many of them are looking to prevent a 3-stop? Oh, that's Burhop.
A lot of smoke comes out, and that's not a good sign for the engine, no.
Yeah. But Burhop will have to keep an eye on how it's continued on for him. Indeed, he is in pit lane with a completely destroyed room of that car, so I believe he will be done for a fair while. He'll be relying on some luck to get himself back in this one. Lewis Greathead, like we said, started out at 5th. He's up 2 spots at the moment. Dean Mackay did not get the launch that he was looking for after being within 0.02 of a second of pole position. Some work to do out of 4th.
So a good breakaway from your top 2, but ferocious pack racing the rest of the way through. We said it's a very high average speed circuit here, 4 long straights. The slipstream really does work to keep cars together here at Silverstone commonly.
Yeah, Sam Sutton, by the way, is going to be holding off James Scott. An update on that incident between 322 and 43 under review. 25 seconds post-race penalty has been handed to Tommy Wallace as a result of that contact that we saw on the way to Cops on lap number 1. This is the 151, and it's the Ferrari that you quite rightly spotted, and I missed, expecting to see McLaren's up towards the pointy end of things. So Stefan McCartan's stepped outside necessarily the strongest of the cars at this point in time. Something maybe a little bit more familiar to him that he can try and find some speed out of. One of the big things we've been seeing out of the Ferrari of late and of note is a tendency for that rear end to swing around and bite quite violently, particularly at Spa a fair bit last season. This little battle pack starting to form up as well. I believe that's Angus Law from the Project 36 entry. Defending. Back end of the hangar straight. Hangs onto it. The problem, Dave, is, well, 46 cars out there that started this race. There is going to be action just about everywhere.
Yes, and as he defended, I looked up at the clock and I went, oh, an hour 56 still to run, which is no doubt interesting to see. Track limits can also be a bit of a problem here around Silverstone. A lot of curbs that GT3 cars can climb over but get punished for if they do. So Andrew Scordilis with a slowdown penalty, but I've also seen drivers in GT cars really rack up incident points here at Silverstone in long races if they're not careful.
Another one I'm keeping half an eye on is that battle between James Scott and Sam Sutton. And James Scott is just about planted inside of the rear bumper of the Sutton all but drop bear Mustang. Scott is going to show the nose to the inside when they get down here to Luffield. And then he'll tip back into the right-hander, steals the position away. Stuart Ellis was trying to find an open door, which he did not find. Eli Donaldson's the next car in this queue as well. So it looks like Sutton might have been the cork in the bottle, at least on cold tyres. And now James Scott's managed to find that pace. So he's got to the head of the queue. And we'll wait to see if he can do anything with it. What flow to Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, isn't it? You're into too hot to the first one. You just offline. You just lose all stability going through the middle of the corner. You really got to slow the car up to get it into that next apex.
Nellis in that Mercedes is interesting to look at in the middle of this pack. Straight line speed seems to just not have 1 kilometer an hour or so that some of these Mustangs have got. Where else can it look a little bit strong? Is it doing the traction okay?
Back at Andrew Scordilis and Cops on lap 1. All on his own, cold tyres. But managed to arrest the slide nicely. That's how he found himself sliding backwards.
They were cold at the start of the corner.
Not anymore. He's actually caught back up to that battle pack we were looking at with Sutton and Scott going head to head, the front end of it.
Pace has picked up at the front of this little group, and it's got James Scott almost pulling away, and I think it is leaving Stuart Ellis just a tiny bit more vulnerable. Eli Donaldson just behind there in the Mustang, all over him, and Ethan Bass coming with as well.
Also seeing 5-second penalty going the way of Stuart Shaw, and that was for the incident between himself and car 700. I believe 700 is Rick Provenzelli in series admin, so probably one of the cars you don't want to box on with. This is the moment on lap 1. Oh.
Tut tut, Ricky. And this is Ellis back under all sorts of pressure again. Stoke Corner's a weird one because it is slightly off camber, so sometimes you see people manage to really keep momentum around the outside, and Ellis is trying to come back somewhat at this, but again, he's sort of positioned a little bit wrong for it.
I ever tell you that the engine note of the Mustang to me sounds forced and too aggressive, and it actually makes me feel uncomfortable.
Oh, you mean like my neighbor with a Lancer ES?
Yeah, the Mustang just sounds like it's trying too hard. If that's, I don't know how better to describe it.
My neighbor's car sounds like they had it parked on the street during the cyclone and it rusted underneath.
Oh. Who knows? Maybe we should invite them to work on the engine note for the Mustang. It might improve it. Personal preference, of course. I don't know. The AMG just sounds so much better. Like, that just sounds like a V8 should.
I'm not super technical about them, but obviously the Mercedes AMG's got a pretty large displacement, older spec V8. Trent Allen is around. 5.2 litres of V10, if you're wondering.
It's 5.2 litres of facing the wrong direction. Fortunately for him. Unfortunately, this has been a habit of the Lamborghini to just want to trip over itself. If you're fractionally too deep into a corner, the rear end just does not like staying underneath you. It's one of the more tricky cars to drive for an extended period of time. Quick! Absolutely, because it gets nice mid-corner rotation, but keeping it underneath you is the issue. Stuart Ellis is continuing to come under a little pressure. So, whilst the qualifying time for him was good, Ethan Bass is now going to pick him off. And he's down 3 spots since qualifying, which would be 4, but he's up 1 because of Andrew Scordilis' incident. And Scordilis is now caught back up to him, and we'll go back to applying that pressure. But the benefit is you'll have 2 teammates line us down on the track, so Ellis is very unlikely to make this too difficult.
So big picture, we're still on shore with the 60% fuel tank restriction. If this is going to look like a 2 or a 3 stop race, it's all depends on a number of things. So the track temperature, how close the packs stay, how much slipstreaming there is. When they make their first pit stop, if they take new tires, how tough is it to get them going? Do you save fuel for 2 or 3 laps because you can't push full completely on new tires, etc.? How many laps do we end up with in 2 hours? All of that makes it a little bit of a question mark. So we're still looking forward to the first pit stop. And does it happen 35 minutes into this race, or does it happen 40 minutes into this race? And then that tells us a lot about what we're looking at post that. You've got Damon Woods leading the race, no slipstream. Zach Rattray White in second, no slipstream. Lewis Greathead in third, no slipstream. But then a whole heap of drivers in these packs through to, 20th place and deeper, who might be just trying to manage fuel and tires a little bit. Maybe not there, though.
I think tires and what you elect to do with the strategy on tires is going to be a big talking point in the back end of this one, because, well, you've got 2 pit stops at least, if not a third. The third one is likely to be a splash and dash. So when you set up to take tires, is going to be important. It might be that the best strategy to give you pace at the back end of the race is actually to take a splash and dash early on here.
Of course, the Ford Mustang had an exhaust system that wasn't compliant with FIA World Endurance Championship, so they designed a new one, and then their new exhaust system started catching fire.
The real question is...
Scott Rankin doesn't like how it sounds.
Yes, I don't like how it sounds. I'm not a fan.
Here's your Lamborghinis. Mike Pepper, Will Buchanan. Not a whole lot of BMWs, but apparently they're here as well for Matt Arnold. Mercedes for Adam Jepson and Ben Jeffrey just behind that as well. It is a little bit... This is the not Mustang Cup right here.
Yeah, sort of just pick your poison, isn't it? Because if you don't take it on, well, then you're not going to... You're going to have to try and struggle uphill a little bit. But if you do take on the Mustang...
Buchanan's got the fastest PB lap here, but again, we've seen that it is perhaps a little trickier to drive and a little less rear stable, but it's an open setup, so who knows across different Lamborghinis who's running sort of what rear wing angle, what ride height, what other settings.
I'm curious, by the way, to see what the GT4 class looks like after its rework, including that new Mustang that's coming in the very near future. But more importantly, by not racing in this first part of the season, anyone who elects to come in from then on might get the opportunity to drive the new Aston Martin. And I am a big fan of the Aston Martin. I hope that we get the choice of which engine package that the car will have, but I have a sneaking suspicion we'll be given the V8.
What do you mean?
Doesn't the Aston Martin GT3, wasn't there a V10 and a V8 version?
No. 2 generations ago, the Vantage GT3 in the old body shape was a V12.
There you
but
go.
The current one has always been a 4-litre twin-turbo V8.
Bring back the old one. That's all I'm saying. Who doesn't love a V12, to be fair?
Okay, Seb Vettel.
Well, the further forward, McLaren's at the moment enjoying a little bit of a dice and a scrap. This is Brad Coates versus Brandon Grosh, Tommy Wallace, Nathan Tapp, and Vinny Nguyen. And then the next car at the back end of this pack was Nick Carroll, who's just off the back end of it. And here comes that run now for Groach. He's going to get down the inside, gets in there. Forces Brad Coates to run a touch wide, and then he'll have to try and tuck in. It'll be the switchback at left field. Now he'll get the ability to try and put the power down, and we'll get the job done here. Tommy Wallace, in the meantime, and a reminder that he has a significant penalty to serve post-race, is at least in this fight. He gets to play camera at the moment.
Looking for the exit out the right-hander there. Oh no.
It's another one of the Lamborghinis that's come unstuck, this time for Greg Brooks. As race leader Damon Woods goes ahead and sets a new fastest lap of the race.
Well, that actually just might be too much curb. It's tough to blame the Lamborghini inherently for that.
I have a sneaky suspicion as well that pace of the race is way too high to prevent the third stop. I'm fairly certain we're locked into a 3-stop race at this point in time. Nick Carroll, though, in the meantime, is doing all he can to apply pressure to the wall of Vinny Nguyen. I believe Nick Carroll actually might have started from... No, Nick Carroll was the pit lane start, my apologies. After issues with impeding in qualifying.
So we saw Groach make that move, but then he picked up a slowdown, so he's now dropped back behind Brad Coates once again.
Just tell the replay of exactly how that one happened. And just left the door open, so I would say
he's
there's
still trying to clear
penalty.
Yeah, he's still trying to clear the slowdown there.
A bit of blocking going on in the background. Vinny Nguyen covers off. Nick Carroll on the run down towards Cops, and that would have taken some bravery to try and dive up the inside. We saw how that ended between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen years ago. 2021, gee, that's a while back now. Now it's going to come down to who can get the better exit. Nathan Tapp just ahead of them, did not get a great exit. So now Nguyen's going to be crawling all over the back of him. Carroll is getting there. Here comes Nguyen. He's going to try and slide down the inside of the entry to Stowe. Here comes the reply as well, as they're all trying to have a go at each other at this point in time. Coates holds off Groach. In the meantime, Nguyen and Carroll both go through on Nathan Tapp. Here comes the dive from Carroll at the entry to the Vale chicane. Little bit of curb on the inside. Forces Nguyen narrow. Nguyen's now slow in the middle of the corner. And this might be a dive bomb that gets set up through the first couple corners. Down to the hairpin. And Farm in the Village. Into the loop, side by side at turn 1 is again bravery. That means that Carroll's been forced to lift out fractionally. Ewan covers the inside. Carroll fires it back down there. Will get to the inside. Job not done though. Here comes the loop. They're nearly lining up to go 3 wide. Tap's trying to get back in there as well. Carroll switches back, gets underneath. Can he get the power down? They'll go side by side. As
Looked
they
really
head.
squirrely in traction for the McLaren there.
Yeah, couldn't quite get the power down, and for Vinny Newen, he might just finally have to see this one on the outside. He'll look for the early break. He'll look for Carroll to run deep. And Carroll's going to keep him on the outside and sort of offer him no path back through, which is important because the switchback is always on. So job finally done. Now he can keep his eyes up. One more spot picked off.
We had it 20 minutes done, so potentially halfway through this first run. Big movers in sort of the top 20. Adam Hughes picking off a couple spots. Adam Shepherd picking off 3. Eli Donaldson picking off 3. Overall, Brad Coates and Benjamin Brook picking up some, but they're not into the top half of the field despite those gains.
Yep. Now we'll have to watch and wait. Because Richard Mitchum is unfortunately down 2 spots at this point in time. Adam Wright's actually had a really good run.
Damage on his nose, if you look carefully.
Yeah. Curious how he's picked that one up. I can tell you it happened all the way back on the first lap. In fact, it happened at the race start. Just went back and had a look for that one. Ethan Bastow is trying to track down Eli Donaldson, and he just about had a Scordillas Mustang. Orbit drop there versus One Performance Racing. ODB plays OPR on the racetrack, and Scordillas was late on the brakes.
Big difference of speed through the middle of the corner there.
Boy! How did he keep that one underneath him? Scordillas all out of shape at the exit of Beckett's. Tell you what, how did he hang on to that one, Dave?
Well, he knew he was entering Buckinghamshire. Oh, yeah. Sort of high-sided it on the curb a bit there on the left-hand side.
Cost him a little bit of momentum. Now he's going to try and show the nose to Ethan Bass and distract him fractionally on the run of turn 1. Stuart Ellis starts to range up on the pair of them. Point in time, Bass carried good momentum through turn 1, turn 2. Made him not be vulnerable down here when they got to the slower corners, and that's sort of what's just propping him up fractionally and much better traction with the Wellington straight as well. So as a result, great drive. That's really what he was looking for.
Lawford around, don't see much damage on the car. He's all by himself here, heading into the loop. And then it was Village, it looked like he was around. Oh yeah, rear lost very early there.
The Pirelli's letting go.
Yeah, everyone's pace is up though. So Damon Woods keeps resetting the fastest lap of the race, and you look at anyone in a competitive position and all of them are going sort of personal best. So as the fuel's burning down, they're finding more pace. Clearly they're still on the edge of some grip.
I think the big thing for those guys up front is that notes car balance. It's not like front left tires just going away massively.
I mean, your whole top 4 set personal bests last lap. They're just completing another lap now, but all of them, as they burn through the fuel and the car gets lighter, are finding more pace rather than any particularly significant tyre drop-off just now.
I think the big thing that's probably helping them at this point in time too, Dave, track temps come down a little bit. We did actually see some excessive cloud cover, and Scott Ellis has just had another huge moment right in front of his teammate Stuart Ellis. So after that huge moment at Cops earlier, it's not gotten any better. Richard Mitchum, I think, just recently. Yeah, you just see just wobbles. He's really struggling with rears at this point in time. Richard Mitchum's just lost a spot. He did jump on the mic momentarily, but there was nothing actually transmitted, so...
So Adam Hughes goes through to sixth, I should say, ahead of that group. Huh.
I wonder whether or not he was trying to swerve to avoid a wild cat that jumped across his windscreen.
Oh, it might have been a fox.
Indeed it might.
Or a stoat or a badger.
Regardless, spot given up, and Adam Hughes the beneficiary. Guarantee you one thing though, Scordilis is very keen to get rid of those rear tyres at the earliest available opportunity. This is a view from Lachlan Capel at the moment behind Richard Mitchum. And that's gravel halfway down the main straightaway. So very curious where that might have come from. A recent note, Rick Provenzali's into the pit lane and an extended stay there for him.
I stopped calling all of them out because there is every single lap a great number of slowdown penalties. A couple of the places the drivers are clearly getting them, and Ben Jeffrey just had one, is running wide out of stow, and it counts you as sort of cutting the course if you run wide out of stow, because then you kind of just cut that little left that it takes afterwards as the track straightens up again. So you've got to stay within track limits there or it's a slowdown, and there's couple of other places as well where that happens. Notably, one of the places that doesn't happen is Woodcote. It's a free-for-all at Woodcote.
I was just actually keeping an eye on another one of the drivers serving another slowdown penalty is Andrew Scordilis, and that I think he's third, in the last 3 laps. So he is struggling to get out of the Vale chicane and back onto the main straight. Again, more grit and gravel on the run into Maggots and Beckett's. This is going to be tight as they try and go side by side through here. Ethan Bass has finally come under a little bit of attack from Eli Donaldson and has managed to get the job done. I think that might have actually been Ethan Bass grabbing the spot away from Eli Donaldson, and it was. So got a great run off of Cops. Now Stuart Ellis is going to arrive on scene, and he looks like he's got really, really good stability in the middle of the corner. He's able to carry great mid-corner speed. Donaldson makes a little bit of a mistake, and they get to Stowe. And that it was speed and a Cops, and then bravery. If we keep an eye on live pictures at the bottom right as well, Stuart Ellis was thinking about having a go at the pair of them.
Left rear is beginning to hurt a little bit on some of these Mustangs we're seeing. So you get some slides through here, you have the slide through Cops, and it's just when you've got to lean on that left rear tyre, maybe starting to just hurt a little bit.
Yeah, so too much attitude, too much mid-corner going on for a lot of these guys. At the moment, track temp started to climb back up again. I wonder if we can grab the graph for that, because I believe the track temp it's not come down and stayed down. It's sort of bobbled a little bit up from race start, and then it came down, and then it's on its way back up again. So keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to hurt my shoulders taking my jacket on and off.
It is England. I'd be looking down, up, not down, to be fair. And Eli Donaldson's still struggling with the rear. That is going to be a long, long work to keep that thing underneath him. Every single time he goes to put the throttle down, the car just wants to get away from him, middle and exit. So he's got to be a little bit more circumspect, and you might see him again have a look at the tip into cops. But the problem for Stuart Ellis is that he sees and reacts to the moment ahead and has one of his own.
Can you gain some of it back here?
Elio Mirabella around through Maggots and Beckett's, and he's slow on the hanger straight. You'll see the Porsche on the right-hand side as they come through underneath the Johnny Walker Bridge right here. This is the battle pack we were looking at earlier too. It's Nick Carroll's now arranged up after the pit lane start onto the back of these guys yet again. Looks to just apply some pressure to the inside of Groach on the run to Stowe.
Carroll's just within track bounds, even if it walked a little bit wide.
Wondering why they're extending the track boundaries a little bit or using them liberally, it's because 40 incident points here tonight before a drive-through penalty across the 2 hours. There is, in 60 laps, you've effectively got 2/3 of them that you can take an off-track on.
And it's incidents from any source, so a little 4X early in the race or anything like that. And you really, really got to be careful. Some drivers will get pretty close to it. I think we'll see 1 or 2 at least go over it. Particularly when you're racing this hard, you don't really want to give up too much ground. And this could be spicy.
Yeah, applying pressure now on the run down to Cobb. So there is going to be contact between Stuart Ellis and Eli Donaldson. And Donaldson eventually has to yield. Scordilis trying to resolve with teammates at the moment. And Eli Donaldson's still got a slowdown penalty that he's serving as a result of all of that as they run down the hanger straight. Now he's had to back massively out of it. And you can see that Scordilis is definitely pacier than Stuart Ellis, but he doesn't have the rear tyre to work with. This is the replay as they run down the cops here, Dave.
Yeah, I thought he was half of the way there for quite a while. It's the sort of thing you need the chopper for. Donaldson thought he could use all of the racetrack, but Stuart Ellis was alongside him the whole straight and looking for that inside the whole time. He was out of the run here, and so there's probably like an inch of overlap, 2 inches, 3 inches there, and he's always looking for the inside and always stays on the track and holds his line. So that's real touch and go for me.
And at one of the most loaded points of the circuit too, high speed. And the risk level there extremely high. Lachlan Capel's now cleared Richard Mitchum as Mitchum continues to manage the damage that he picked up earlier.
And I think Donaldson could have chosen the inside there and didn't. He thought he'd out-drag Ellis and then didn't.
This is how Lachlan Capel got the job done on Richard Mitchum. Mitchum just doesn't make the apex and struggling to pull the car up on the run to Vale. And around the outside of Vale.
Capel sat in this group for quite a long time, might have been saving a little bit of fuel at that point, and then tyres are starting to go off for some as well. So I think Capel's taken it his opportunity to push on a little bit, approaching the first pit stop window.
Yeah. And here we go. Lewis Greathead's going to be in. Andrew Dutch, we saw come in last lap. By the way, Richard Mitchell has picked up a slowdown penalty that he's desperately trying to serve. He will be diving into pit lane as well. Rattray White is in. And there's a big checkup at the pit lane entry because Richard Mitchell was trying to serve a slowdown penalty on the way in. And it's checked up. Dylan Shepherd and James Scott both in behind him who were also trying to follow him in.
I put to you that checking up in the pit lane entry is serving a slowdown penalty on the racing line. If there's only one lane in there.
Yep.
Shepherd's lost his front bumper and he's queuing up race control. And he's going to get his front bumper back. But this is well before 2-stop territory. This is 3-stop race timing for almost everyone.
I think this is everyone just looking at it and going, okay, we've gone far enough for the race.
Look at the split. Who goes up on Jackson, who doesn't? It kind of looked 50-50. Very interesting. So that's tyre decisions being made. Some are going to double stint these tyres now. And some are going to keep their warm tyres on. They might get a bit of a, an undercut around this next 2 or 3 laps, but then it'll begin to fade towards the tail end of this stint. So I don't have reliable data on who took tyres and who didn't. So we've got to just sort of take notes and see who begins to fade in the next 5 to 10 laps.
Zach Rattray White's going to lead the drivers out who have made their first stop. The big question will be, how far does Damon Woods go into this race? And you would expect him to be entering the pit lane this lap. And indeed he does. So we will see a stop for our race leader. Greg Brooks, in the meantime, keeping an eye half on him after that spin earlier on. He's in amongst a bunch of the cars that have done their first stops. So this is going to be troubling for him at the moment. That is Stuart Ellis ahead of him and Andrew Scordillis behind. Oh, big moment. And there's going to be contact as they head through Cops as well. And it was Greg Brooks who got a little bit of a nudge to get out of the way, because he had a huge slide on as they kicked on through Cops.
At this point, everyone who didn't stop last lap is coming in this lap, except Stefan McCartan. But still, even another lap's not going to get into 2-stop territory. This is what happened at Cops.
Got away with it. There's grass on the inside in the middle of the corner. It just
those sausage curbs. Not the first Lamborghini we've seen hit those inside sausage curbs and get really upset.
Yeah. And now the teammates are going to go at each other. And in fact, that's actually going to get resolved very early on. And that is Scordillis through on Ellis. The rest of the field that haven't pit now in the lane, with the exception of McCartan. You were right. He has continued on. That could be the strength of the Ferrari.
I've always said, I'm always telling my mom, trade in your Toyota Prius for a Ferrari for better fuel economy. This could be some cold tyres troubles. You've just run a whole stint. The tyres are gripped up. We saw the drivers keep finding pace through the first stint. And then if Adam Wright's gone on new cold tyres, might have caught him out a little bit. And as we know that we're getting a 3-stop race, there's a bit more flexibility to the fuel windows and the fuel strategy. So you're seeing some drivers taking close to 30 seconds of fuel and some taking a little closer to 25. I think you get all 4 tyres changed near enough for free.
One of the big things is people will be willing to do whatever they can to avoid cold tyre laps. So this will be the teammates letting each other go, and this, I believe, will be cold versus hot tyres between these two. And that was Ethan Bass letting Sam Sutton behind. So yeah, that would be cold. You can see Bass is struggling to get the car to point and turn. So definitely on colder tyres, but didn't take a huge drink of fuel.
Brandon Groch also that 1 lap longer. So Stefan McCartan comes in having run sort of 2 laps longer than the race leaders. Brandon Groch also do so. But the problem is they are going to be leaving pit lane still short of 1/3 of race distance.
Yeah, but the splash will be significantly less. In the meantime, Dylan Shepherd and Adam Wright going at each other. And this was earlier on in the lap, and Wright went around.
Not sure they touched. I think Wright was really aggressively trying to cover it off.
Yeah. And McLaren just got away from him. Now it's Richard Mitchum that's in behind him. On the start-finish straight. First pit stops of the season now behind us. And confirmation for the field. Race pace is a little bit too high. Huge dive from Richard Mitchum as he tries to get down the inside and does so on Adam Wright. But it was on the narrow side of the road, and Wright's actually probably given him a little bit more room than I think he was deserving of. But regardless, Mitchum gets the job done.
Trying to get an idea on what McCartan's done for his stop. If he's gone that long and then taken tyres, or if he's taken plenty of fuel. He's got Capel, who'll have a bit more tyre temperature behind him if that's what's happening. There they are side by side up the road and into Cops, and I think McCartan just drops in behind. So McCartan's just trying to run long on the tyres, and then at the very last stop will be no tyres, you've got to assume, and that's the strategy here, to avoid... to maximise the life of the tyres while minimising how often you're on cold tyres.
I don't get the feeling that third stop... I reckon the third stop for everyone's going to be no tyres.
Well, some obviously went no tyres at the first stop here. There were definitely quite a few that did that. So some might be thinking, a double stint at the start, I pit somewhere around the halfway where I put a new set of tyres on, and then I have a fuel-only stop and only make one tyre change, and you just run each set of tyres approximately an hour.
Yep. I mean,
Likelihood of a safety car compressing the field means I don't see anyone who's taken just 15 seconds of fuel and tried to bring a short splash early, because if you did that and then a safety car comes out, puts you on the back foot with needing a lot more pit stop time in the back half of the race, and you lose your time advantage even if you keep a bit of track position.
But the big advantage there will be that you can take your tyres for free effectively under the safety car, and everyone's tyres are going to cool down, so you won't be paying anywhere near as much of a penalty on the cold tyres.
Yeah, but you'll need more fuel.
You will,
and the field will have collapsed.
That's the weakness of it. So yeah, the benefit is, that the penalty of cold tyres is significantly less. You get a free kick on the pit stop. But yeah, you do have to take a lot more fuel.
So Damon Woods gained significantly across that pit stop window. He stopped one lap later than Zach Rattray-White, and now as it settles out, he's almost got a 6-second lead. And then both of them pulling further away from Mackay and Greathead. Just the battle second and third, and yeah, the whole field's just spread a tiny bit more with that first pit stop.
First real battle is actually probably down about 12th spot. I've sort of got a group: Sam Sutton, Ethan Bass, Scordellis and Stuart Ellis, and Scordellis looks a lot more racy after getting some fresh tyres on. Car 126 has just picked up a penalty as well, which will be PJ Whiteman, which is for an incident on lap 20. I believe he's a lapped car as well. Indeed, he would be for PJ Whiteman. So it'd be something to do with lead lap traffic on their way through for him, which sometimes there is quite a difficulty in trying to read what the lead lap traffic are trying to do. As they try and get through. And just reading that generic speed is very difficult. We'll get an update on what went on between Whiteman. It's a Lamborghini going around the outside. That's a tricky one. Because the 27 Mercedes of Trent Allen was the slow car on the inside.
Kurt Chapman's second stop here. Is he just going critical lap number count back from here type stuff, or did he have a bit more damage?
I'd say that would be, yeah, exactly how he's looking to play this one out. And update is that there actually has been some sort of drama for Kurt Chapman. As the 18 of Eli Donaldson rejoined. Sorry, that was live pictures. My apologies. So this is, so we're gonna update on what happened to Eli Donaldson, but before we get there, this is what happened to Chapman. Unfortunately for that one, broadcast has picked up another issue of some sort that was earlier on. So that wasn't the specific issue there for Kurt Chapman. But one lap later, nearly the exact same thing happened. A little bit deep. That looked like net code, unfortunately, for Chapman. And I reckon he spun that around and gone straight to the pit lane.
Alive, another incident's happened just in the same corner, trying to go side by side through there. The car on the outside never wants to yield because of the slowdown penalty, so they will always firmly hold their ground against the white line, even with all the paved runoff that there is.
And something's just happened to Ethan Bass on the current lap as well. Is this what happened to Eli Donaldson? Is it going to be the rear getting away from him? Indeed it is. He's contacted Andrew Scourdillis, which we got an update on, and there's also been an issue for the 488 car, which was Nick Carroll, who's cutting his way through the field after that pit lane start, which we'll get another replay of here in just a few moments. Nick Carroll was the contact with Kurt Chapman, and that was just a trip over on the exit for Ethan. And the problem he's going to have is if it's anything like what happened to Scourdillis earlier on, that is going to mean that his rear tyres are going to be hurting at the back end of this stint. Yeah, 10-second time penalty to come the way of Andrew Scourdillis for the contact with Ethan Bass.
So this is interesting, the Ferrari versus the McLaren, Stefan McCartan versus Adam Wright. McCartan obviously went long. I think he dropped a bit of time initially. He was definitely on cold tyres around cars that either hadn't taken them or had successfully warmed them up, but now finding his feet underneath him a little bit more. That's from a 59.6 to a 59.3.
Of course, this is the lead of the non-Mustangs at the moment. In fact, the little battle you can just see ahead of them is Lachlan Capel and Richard Mitchum going to be continuing to go at each other, although Mitchum just can't get within attacking distance at the moment. This is the run through turn number 1, 281 machine is trying to go side by side. This is Will Buchanan and Mike Pepper on the run through 1, 2 and 3. Crossover. And he'll look to try and get the drive out the other side. Village can't quite get there on the power. And that is going to present an opportunity for the BMW. Has to have a fractional lift speed, trying to be carried there through the middle of the corner now for Will Buchanan. And took to the extremities of the track as well to try and carry the speed, because he was a little bit under the pump from Matt Arnold.
Donaldson ranges up on the back of all of them, but still needs to manage the tyre temperature, we would imagine. Where on earth is Adam Wright gone?
Unfortunately,
he drops out.
Right. Disconnected on his own doing. So we have not got him any further on tracking whatsoever.
So behind McCartan. Nope. Theoretically, that's not allowed.
Started with a sim-related issue of some description and translated into, unfortunately, a retirement. Oh, well, one more steps aside. For the meantime, here comes a big old send down the inside from Eli Donaldson, who's on the recovery effort now. After his spin and his issues, send on Matt Arnold gets him back to P18. And recovery drive well and truly on for him. On the field at the moment as well. Brad Coates and Tommy Wallace continuing to go at it.
Coates started 40th. Tommy Wallace started 26th.
Also with a significant time penalty to come his way as well. So do hope Brad might be aware that there is potentially that one coming the way of Wallace. He doesn't need to fight him. It is a significant, I believe it was 25 seconds. Will be added to the post-race time of Wallace.
No, the old McLaren did it better.
Yeah. A little bit of backfire, but not the extended fire-breathing dragon that we used to see from the previous iteration of McLaren. Albeit it is nice to have the 570 GTS in attendance. Eric Dutch turns to the series and returns to the wheel of a Porsche, which I think is interesting for him, because I believe he was in a Mustang last season. So he stepped out of a stronger car. What a bobbling on the one into Maggots and Beckett's by the look of that. Just not happy and compliant in the rear end of that car.
There's the change of direction before Chapel, and he's run off and skipped part of that and come onto the hanger straight with no momentum. Wallace moves ahead of Coates, though. I wonder if we're seeing a tyres versus no tyres situation play out there.
Yeah.
Like maybe Coates didn't take him, Wallace did. Coates got a whole heap of track position, maybe around those 1 or 2 laps where everyone else was warming theirs up, but Wallace has got his in now and just has a bit more confidence.
And the tricky part is on those cold tyres, the guy that's got the warmer tyres on, he's got to make all the gains there. If you manage to hold him up for one corner, that's a huge swing in your favour. If you make it 2, even better. If you can get into the centre of the lap and the tyre's got some warmth to it, the speed differential becomes quite massive. And just keeping an eye on as well, Eli Donaldson's about to have a go, and Will Buchanan on the entry to Stowe. And there's the nose shown. 2 Lamborghinis just ahead of him. And Buchanan backs out, although that's late on the brakes. And Buchanan gets into the back of him in the opposite direction. So it's deep from Eli Donaldson. And unfortunately, the price paid of the AITT Revolution E-Racing Lamborghini.
Oh.
Tricky on that one. That looked like contact to me, Dave, but it was the car that made the contact that didn't walk away from the scene of the crime.
Yeah, I mean, Donaldson obviously dove in really deep, got down the inside, sailed past the apex. Buchanan's like, okay, I'll try to swap back underneath, and then Donaldson had to slow up quite a bit in the middle of the corner because he was running offline, he was running out towards the marbles, and the Lamborghini just doesn't seem to have the stability to be able to change your line mid-corner, change your mind, and, you know, do something different.
Well, it nearly looks like to me, was there a tap of the brakes, or you reckon that was just a lift-off in the middle of that, and that's where the Lamborghini started to go out from underneath him, that lift-off oversteer that it's known for?
Yeah, because he had to change it. He had to change his plan mid-corner, and didn't have the, you know, stability.
Watch for the brake lights. Yeah, there was another stab of the brakes, and that's where it went around. Ooh, Scordelis has had a huge moment currently. Live pictures. Maggot Beckett's, and in fact, he skipped Beckett's and went straight through and out the other side of Chapel. So again, tyres, the issue for Scordelis, and it wasn't just the moment the first stint.
James Scott's making his second stop here. That's up on jacks, that's tyres. So did he maybe not take him the first time around? He's reaching close to the halfway point of the race. He's like, let's go put on a set of tyres. It'll either take us to the end, or we'll get a new one next set around.
He's had enough. James Scott stepped aside for the rest of the race. He's retired from the race, which is why we lost pictures from the pit lane halfway through that one. Just prior to the halfway mark on this one. And for those of you who was hanging out just prior and enjoying this one, don't forget, in 2 hours' time, Formula One returns from Zandvoort and the Dutch Grand Prix after the summer break. Oscar Piastri on pole and hoping to extend that points lead. I think we'll bang that drum for a very, very long time if he gets it done this year.
Well, he's worth every dollar to McLaren, and it's a couple of dollars to McLaren. Got to, you know, commend them, because I think McLaren have probably spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Australians in the last 3 or 4 years.
Ben Jeffrey and Brock Caddart. And again, Mercedes versus Mustang battle. We're seeing a few of these. And it's the straight line speed. It seems to be hampering the Mercedes. It seems to be relatively much more balanced and consistent package in the corners, but just not quite same speed on the straights. And Nick Carroll, by the way, is the next car in this queue, lining up to have a crack. So after that pit lane start, he's through from the rear end of the field to 21st.
Great speed advantage last lap, basically a second a lap that Nick Carroll's got over Jeffrey and Caddo. And that's enough to affect a pass around here for sure.
It's going to be the big... I mean, the difficulty in Silverstone is actually completing that pass. The amount of time it takes to set it up is exceptional.
Get a look at the rear stability here for 124 Brock Caddo. A couple of corners, it's just walking around a little bit on him. He's 0.8 of a second away from his best. Well, your race leader's 0.4 of a second away from his best. So the tyres, I think, not amazing in places for Caddo. Let's get past Jeffrey before Carroll gets both of them, perhaps.
still not resolving itself between these three as well. Issue now for Angus Lawford. On the current lap, we are a minute away from hitting the halfway marker in race number 1 of season 2 for 2025. And the SUDSPEED GT3 Open Series continues. Tell you what, we might walk away for just a few minutes, refresh ourselves, come back with energy to plow on with the second half of tonight's race. More action continues on the other side of this. Well, welcome back, ladies and gents. So, back after the halfway mark, and we're only a couple laps away from the next round of pit stops, which was important to squeak our pit stop in. Angus Lawford's just going to round the Project 36 Mustang. Towards the end of the Wellington Straight. And there is Greg Brooks at the moment. And waiting. He's actually just called for a tow. So holding up position at the moment, and that is down at turn 7.
We've seen a Mustang do very similar, but pull up before finding the wall.
That should sneak through in the background of that shot, and there it is. You just saw it barely in the right, top right-hand corner. So, might see a few cars diving into pit lane as a result of that one. And there will be no safety car as a result of that one. So I've heard the pit lane alarm going absolutely nuts in the background. Beyond the halfway marker, inside of that next round of pit stops, and you get the feeling this will be one of those pit stops where the bulk of the field will probably take their tyres. In fact, it'll be the next pit stop where there will be a little bit of differential yet again.
So drivers like Zach Rattray-White in second, Lewis Greathead in fourth, they made their first stop after 17 laps. They're now on their 16th lap, about to start their 17th. So we're expecting some of the earlier stoppers from first time around to need to come in right about now. I mean, the end of next lap, really.
The worst part is the words right about now went through your head, and my first response mentally was, oh brother. And check it out now. As Zach Rattray-White makes his way through cops. Coming from a Greg Brooks over on YouTube. I hate this Lamborghini. Unfortunately, brother, stuck with it for the rest of the season you are. Although, if you hate it that much, perhaps a transition to the Aston Martin mid-season might be up your alley. Dean Mackay has started to track down Zach Rattray-White at this point in time. I wonder whether or not Rattray-White might be fuel saving just a fraction. Look at line differential.
I think it could be about tyres, because at this track temperature, at this point in the fuel run last stint, Damon Woods was doing sort of mid 158s. He's doing 159.1, 159.2. So Zach Rattray-White.
Yeah, Mackay might have taken those tyres, and that just might be why he's starting to come back to them, in which case you see the strategy change for both of those two cars ahead of him, in which case you might actually see two medium stint lengths to home, just with the issue of those the worn tyres at the back end of this one. In the meantime, Lamborghinis that are on the move is number 100 machine of Mike Pepper. But that is Eli Donaldson, who was just recently in behind him. So Donaldson's made a couple of overtakes in the middle of this one.
Pepper's got the endurance lights fitted to his Lamborghini, something that Buchanan and Brooks didn't have. I also noticed some of the Mercedes had different lights fitted.
Look at the front end of the Mercedes then for that, if they've got the endurance package.
Cutting through the traffic goes Zach Rattray-White and Dean Mackay, who haven't stopped. Dylan Shepherd comes in. I would have thought end of that lap for Zach Rattray-White, but apparently he's around for one more.
Yeah, so at least he's pressed on in terms of that fuel number on this stint. That might be a combination between the tyres and the fuel that he's trying to run down. In actual fact, they're in a little bit of traffic at this point in time. You can see the closing margin that Dean Mackay's started to put on him. Terry Marsh is the car just ahead at this point in time. And Marsh is going to sidestep both of these guys and not get in their way. It's a great job by him to recognise when there was an opportunity between Cott and Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. Jump out of the way, has done so. Back out of this straight, you've got a really good opportunity to have a look at what the pace differential is like between Dean Mackay and Zach Rattray White, and if there is indeed some fuel saving that's going on. Yeah, I reckon it's fractional from Rattray White, but we're expecting both of these cars to be into the pit lane. Only one of them, and it is Rattray White who dives to the lane. Damon Woods stays out, as does Dean Mackay. Something just happened to Lewis Greathead on pit lane entry too, and I believe it was Terry Marsh. Sneaky suspicion is going to be another slowdown penalty attempting to be served on the pit lane entry. But Greathead recognised what was going on much, much earlier. In the meantime, is BMW finally going to line up and have a go at Mike Pepper's Lamborghini, and Matt Arnold has waited a long time for that hole to open, and finally it did, gets the job done. Both of them will dive to pit lane immediately though. 49 minutes on the clock as these guys will make their way to the lane. And Dave, I do wonder who is and who isn't taking tyres at this point in time.
Yeah, I couldn't see last time around. But it is a good question now with this point in time remaining. I think we're going to get the track to cool off a little bit. It's gone past 4 p.m. The sun's getting a little bit lower in the sky. Even when the clouds move away, it's starting to get a little bit of that early evening feeling to it. This ought to be in lap for Woods based on doing 18 laps the first stint, coming to the end of 18 laps just now. The race leader's pulled out to 10 seconds in this stint. It's gone pretty well for him.
Yep, that it has. Curious to keep an eye on Lachlan Capel and his pace relative. He's been matching Adam Hughes. There's been nothing between those guys. So in the last few laps, less than a tenth sort of between them lap on lap. Mackay is in as well. Hughes and Capel both in. What is this group going to do?
I don't know, Jeff. .31 seconds for Damon Woods is a long stop. Mackay 26.
Rattray White's actually going to come out behind Dean Mackay, but I do wonder whether or not Dean Mackay is going to have a cold tire warm-up phase to go through that Rattray White's already partially through. In the meantime, this group will continue on. So second round of pit stops just about done, and we're expecting there to be a splash and dash. So for the moment, we're going to jump back and have a quick look at the replay of what happened to Lewis Great head on pit lane entry. And that is the car ahead of him. Again, I said I thought there was a car serving a slowdown penalty on pit lane entry. There it is.
Not sure if they were serving a slowdown penalty or they were just serving slow. You're left with just Stefan McCartan, who hasn't made a second stop yet. And the only way anyone pulls off a two-stop race here is if McCartan pulls 20 laps out of his back pocket in this stint and gets to 40 minutes to go at the time of making his final pit stop.
Something's just happened to Ethan Bass. It was for some sort of issue, and I reckon it might have been serving a slowdown penalty from Stuart Ellis's perspective. Yeah, he was definitely wide coming through Maggots and Beckett, so we might actually grab a replay of that one. So at the moment, I'm going to bring you a replay, but there is something we've just heard about, and it's Zach Rattray White. Again, I think this is the cold tyre warm-up phase. He's already gone through it, gets to the inside of Dean Mackay and just says, hang on, Sonny, I've got grip, you're still struggling, and here's my Mustang to take a look left at.
This is it. Big speed difference.
You could just see exactly what was going on, and I just had confirmation as well from Stuart Ellis in the simulator. It's indeed he was serving a slowdown penalty. But regardless, you can't move one side of the track to the other. And in fact, if he'd have held far right, heading down the hanger straight, no one would have complained about it. But he moved hard right to hard left, and that's where the issue is.
He's under investigation for bad behaviour. Oh, Will Buchanan, that thing looked absolutely nasty on the change of direction. Brock Caday's Mustang hasn't looked entirely stable in the last stint, but I think he's looking a bit better this time around as Buchanan tried to follow in the dirty air. And you're constantly sort of, you know, rocking the boat from one side to the other in that change of direction. McCartan's doing 20 laps, you know. He's still out.
I'm just wondering whether or not that the issue is from the first stint only being 19.
Roll the dice, go for it, son. I reckon that's what's happening.
Well, if he gets 21 here, he'll definitely get it home on one more stop. But we watch and we wait. Entry to Stowe. Pit lane entry coming up on driver's right. Out the other side here. Does he fire across the lane entry? He does indeed. Gets 20 laps out of it. And he will enter pit lane with 1 hour, 18 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. And I reckon with 90 seconds to go on that one, as he enters the lane, there's going to be 61 laps. There's a few bits and pieces going on as a result of that incident for Stuart Ellis too.
Pit stop just begins now. It'll recalculate the estimated number of laps when Damon Woods comes back through into the race lead as he does now, because it had been calculating based on Stefan McCartan's position as the race leader. But then obviously McCartan still owed a pit stop, so he pits. Damon Woods goes by. Now we begin to calculate remaining number of laps based on Damon Woods, knowing that Damon Woods still needs a splash of fuel as well. There's a chance very unlikely, I'm feeling, that it's 20 to go for McCartan. Lap times are coming in just underneath 2 minutes, and there's still 40 minutes to go, and Woods is significantly past the start-finish line, perhaps with enough in hand to make that final pit stop and still be ahead of the clock, as it were.
Yeah.
But at the very worst, McCartan's come out in 8th place, and if he does take a 2-lap splash or a 1-lap splash or something, he'll be positioned pretty well. Here comes Sam Sutton, who has the door closed on him at Woodcote.
This will be
Sure
Cole
he'll get around
versus
the outside,
Bottas.
no worries.
Yeah. Bravery at cops, but Stefan McCartan's probably getting a little bit extra room as well. And the other thing you think about from Stefan McCartan's point of view is he is excessively trying to save fuel. I wonder, is there McCartan slow down? No, he's trying to jump out of the way of Dylan Shepherd. So he was trying to back up Sam Sutton in a Dylan Shepherd, whilst also fuel saving. As soon as Sutton got clear, Shepherd was immediately ushered through. So the team game being played for certain in that one, although the gain and loss, albeit very minor, and there's enough in it for McCartan to say, yep, I was just fuel saving. I don't know what you're on about. Tell you what, there's a pit stop difference between Capel and Richard Mitchum, by the way, about 3 seconds. I reckon Mitchum wanted to get away from Capel and just see if he could run his own laps in clean air. And it's, I've got to be honest with you, I don't think it's a bad idea. Just doing something different. Because ultimately, if you run those laps and you couldn't make any advantage out of it, well, then you weren't going to pass him on track anyway.
Tail end of the first stint, we saw a lot of really good pace on light fuel loads as well. So if you go Mitchum and just take 22 seconds of fuel, get a little bit more track position, break the toe, try to run a little bit quicker this stint, and then just make up that 3 seconds that you're going to need to add, presumably, to your final pit stop. I can see why you would do that when you're looking at, you know, a 3, 4, 5 laps to go splash and dash, to say, instead of a full tank of fuel and then, you know, a tiny splash, let's take 3/4 of a tank twice. Try to run it a bit lighter most of the time.
Never a bad idea. Let's do something different. If you sit exactly where you are and you do exactly the same as everyone else, and I can tell you, critical factor in that one, Lachlan Capel's rear end has let go as he came through Beckett's and headed towards Chapel. And that didn't happen directly in front of Richard Mitchum, which means, and he was a lot safer for it. So that has worked out because it's placed enough pressure on Capel to maybe induce a mistake. Watch the flow here out on the other side. It was just before he got to the curb, so it wasn't even on the curb.
It was a slide from hitting the sausage curbs in the right-hander, and the car just sort of hit a resonant frequency, bounced a little bit, and then didn't accept the change of direction.
Stefan McCartan, keep an eye on him as well, because he was 1.8 seconds slower than that little group he was trying to hunt down. If that keeps up, it's not going to work out on that fuel save strategy. I have a feeling there's still a tyre warm-up phase coming in the middle of that.
Cadet's got himself a slowdown penalty in front of Will Buchanan, who we knew was closing and trying to attack, but struggling to race wheel to wheel and in close quarters based on some of the instability we've seen from Lamborghinis. Cannon gets by. Sutton also tried to take that Richard Mitchum strategy, pretty short fill, but Shepard's all over him now.
In the meantime, again, we're just watching and waiting, and the pit stop window to get home is now effectively open if you're looking for a change of tyres to make your way home. And that's one car feeding into pit lane. That's Terry Marsh, who's going to dive in again.
Shepard ran wide, got a slowdown penalty through Stowe, so you just got to be so careful with the track limits there and in other places. Yet to have seen any drive-throughs for the incident points. Bass comes in, and is this going to be put on the set of tyres that takes him to the end? Is he trying to be fast in this final stint? Otherwise you just run long, run the car light, take that splash.
Yep, so here we go. Final pit stops. Bass jumps out of the queue to get in and get this stop done.
Unlike a Gen 3 V8 supercar, you can tell whether they're taking tyres or not, because if they're taking fuel only, the car doesn't go up on the jacks. Supercars, any service, they go up on the jacks. The GT3 cars, they'll stay on the ground if they're going fuel only, and they'll pop up if a tyre change is underway.
That was a hefty... That might be 2 tyres, you know. That might only be 2.
I thought you could get 4 in about 25 to 27 seconds. They're single lug nut there.
Remember, we're not under any obligation to have a minimum pit stop transit time, by the way. So, difference in tyre selection. Yeah, we'll have to keep an ear out. Particularly the outlaps for that car. If it's a 2 tyre stop, it's going to be diabolical. Oh, that is a car into the backwards of the wall, and that is Ethan Bass on the cold tyres. So that has not worked out for him, and there is fractional damage on the rear end, so he might just be okay.
So it's always the challenge for the cold tyres, and Ethan Bass has demonstrated it. He was looking for some kind of perhaps a tyre undercut, a tyre offset in the final stint, and being off the road. There is actually a fair bit of damage to that right rear. Maybe it's going to cause some drag, and this is just the grip's not there, the grip's not there, the grip's not there.
But the barrier is so close, and you saw the brake lights come off and on again. So he did release the brakes. Thought he might have had a little bit more room to work with, and room there was not. Scordilis has come through the pit lane, and with the moments that he's had thus far today, Ethan Bass is actually going to come back to pit lane because there's enough damage on that car that he needs repairs. Scordilis comes through to serve a drive-through penalty.
Now, it's complicated here because you'll see that the cone-to-cone transit time of a drive-through is 30 seconds, but the actual time loss is a bit closer to 20 or maybe even only 18 seconds because you cut out the 3 final corners. So there are much, much worse racetracks to get a drive-through penalty than here. Nonetheless, I still wouldn't recommend it. Like I wouldn't recommend licking a 9-volt battery or sitting in the electric chair. Actually, I think I would recommend licking a flat 9-volt battery. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd probably tell one of my friends to do it.
So update, I've just been handed some information. 56 litres of fuel will cover 4 tyres in a GT3, and that equates to about 20 seconds worth of pit stop. So it is entirely possible that Ethan Bass took 4 tyres.
And supercars teams with 2 wheel guns can change 4 tyres in like 12 seconds or less these days. Don't know how many wheel guns these guys have got, but GT3 cars are designed for quick tyre changes. Just got to make sure you do arm day when you're picking up and throwing the wheel and tyres around.
Either way, for Ethan Bass, it hasn't worked out with backing that car to the barriers and requiring repairs. So now for Orbit Drop Bear, their rest of their hopes and dreams for this one rely squarely on the shoulders of Sam Sutton, who is currently under assault from Dylan Shepherd. As that battle continues, Lachlan Capel just in behind them after his spin. And with work to do, fractionally faster than both of these cars in the most recent lap, so he will start to range up. And Sutton not quick on the entry. Mercedes was nice for Dylan Shepherd on the rotation to the middle of the corner. He's just able to carry so much more entry speed.
It's also a slowdown penalty running too wide out of that final corner there, which is not normally a problem for GT3s, but if you want to battle side by side on the final lap, it can be.
So Bobby Camo is going to go around and start missing the front end of his Mercedes with some work to do in that out of left field. Contact here is on the outside. No, does on his own. Near the barriers and knocks the nose in.
Got wide as well. I think there's marbles building up offline there as well, because Ethan Bass got a little bit wide and then it really snapped on him. So you can't tell, but it seems like just a car width wide of the racing line through some of those corners is getting a significant differential of grip to the racing line, whether it's the racing line gripping up more and the other bits not, or it's the marbles building up offline and making it more slippery out there.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw a little bit of a curveball actually in terms of strategy as well. Wouldn't surprise me to see Capel, if he's got the speed, and I think he does have the speed, to catch this next group and then dive to pit lane. Just here. So 12 car there in Mirabella, currently multiple lap stands, having connection dramas as well. Some more is going on there. Somebody else just died in pit lane, Bobby Camaro, so okay, he did manage to get that car back to pit lane.
I assume his pit crew are Camo Tire and Auto.
Syllables just slightly around the wrong way in the surname, but this is the view on board the Dylan Shepherd AMG. What's the lap times been like for Stephen McCartan? 0.8 of a second, a little bit more than that, basically around a second slower than that group ahead that we were talking about, Sutton Shepherd. So he's been overtaken by them in this stint. And now he's going to sort of just try and hang on to a reasonable distance behind them. He's falling back to about 6 seconds or so behind them. So that will not be covered by a pit stop. At this point in time, we don't know for certain that he has managed to chop that pit stop out. It will be tight for, I think, the only Ferrari in the field.
Don't remember seeing another. It's just a couple BMWs, a couple of Lamborghinis, small handful of Mercedes. Was it just the one McLaren?
A few McLarens. Brad Coates is McLaren. There's one McLaren earlier on inside the top 10. I think we might have lost a few of the McLarens through the course of this one as well. They've all fallen outside that top 20 now. So Brad Coates is the first, Vinny Newen the second outside 20, 21st and 24th. And Trent Naylor in a McLaren as well, so there's at least 3 in the field.
I'm feeling increasingly confident in saying that I don't think Damon Woods took tyres at his first stop, but did just take them at his second stop. He's burning through the fuel, just set a new fast lap of the race. The track temperature is still up at 27.
The meantime, that's the Merc number 80 machine. Benjamin Brook jumping other way, so that'll be another slowdown penalty and lap traffic that he was trying to dive out of the way of. Meantime, is that Dylan Shepherd? Dylan Shepherd has managed to get through on Sam Sutton. So this position has just changed hands. In recent past, it was the late dive to the inside, hard on the anchors. And gets it done. And for now, Damon Woods still in the lead, still trucking on away. 12 laps complete on his start of his 13th, so a maximum of about 5 or 6 laps away from his final pit stop. And at this point in time, what are we looking at on scheduled lap? We're still right on that 60 lap count potentially.
Yeah, so doing just about 2-minute lap times, right? Damon Wood crossed the start-finish line when there's something like 22:45 seconds on the clock. So then you'd need his final pit stop to take 45 seconds off the clock or more to make this race go the 1 lap shorter. And I think with the final splash situation for Damon Woods, that's not going to happen. So I think it'll be in the order of about 20 seconds left on the clock when he takes the white flag. It will go that 1 lap longer. That's the way I'm seeing it at the moment.
Yeah, and that margins that number as well is only going to continue to grow. Because at the moment we're journeying around the track. Most recent lap for Woods was a 58.426, so we're gaining about 1.5 seconds into that extra lap territory every lap. And if we've been doing that since the race start, yeah, it definitely will happen. But the big thing is, right back at the start of the race as well, that track temp was just a fraction higher. It's come down again later on in this one as Brendan Groach keeps an eye on... These two have just been going at it all day. Put himself and Brad Coates. Can't get away from each other.
Yeah, see, I put my jacket on and I've left it on.
Just pull it down just that fraction. Point in time. Wind's picked up a little.
Oh, not as windy as it was at my place yesterday, or was that
wild.
Friday? I can't remember.
It has been wild the last few days in terms of wind. All up and down the northern part of the New South Wales coast into the southern part of Queensland. Here comes final stops. And in for both Dylan Shepherd and Sam Sutton. Lachlan Capel, seeing those two dive to pit lane, is going to stay out.
Someone just launched their motor there? Yeah, okay. It was parked and it's still launching.
By the way, Damon Woods lapped all the way up to 22nd at the moment. He's chasing down Eli Donaldson in 22nd. Such has been the supreme pace and consistency. I think the consistency is a big part. Definitely been quick. He's been laying it down very, very consistently. Growing ever closer is Brennan Grosh and his quest for entering the top 20. And I tell you what, might not be a bad idea if I was in his shoes to just sneak in a pit lane and get that final stop done. Just get it out of the way. Get away from him. If you're feeling quicker, sharper on the racetrack at this point in time, dive in.
Well, Brad Coates is actually going to have to shortly.
We do indeed have a car stuck at this point in time, and it's Robert Crisdale. And this is close enough to the racetrack and in a compromised position. This, I believe, will trigger safety car, and indeed it has. Here we go. We are going to get ourselves a 15-minute sprint race to finish this off.
Zach Rattray White, Lewis Greathead, Adam Hughes, everyone diving into pit lane. Damon Woods just missed the opportunity. We'll take a look at what happened. It would be useful if you applied the brake pedal.
Just waiting for some procedural updates as well. Safety car sitting in the pit lane exit at the moment, waiting for race leader to come around.
So will it be waiting for Damon Woods or Dean Mackay or Zach Rattray White?
Well, Damon Woods does still lead the way at the moment, hasn't entered pit lane.
This wipes a lap off the race distance, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So McCann won't need to pit here.
Guarantee this wipes that 20 seconds off the clock and sends us one lap shorter.
Yeah, and Zach Rattray
Not to speak
White,
about the fuel saving that you can do in this situation.
Well, this is where he's sitting in P4 at this point in time from Stephen McCartan's point of view. That's exactly where he's going to pop out too, because Rattray White's done his final stop just ahead, as has Lewis Greathead, who is now behind. So Woods into the pit lane. We're waiting on Dean Mackay as well, who should be near the lane here in a moment. Indeed, he will be entering pit lane.
So what's the traffic like for Zach Rattray White? Has he lost much time behind lapped cars or anything like that? No? No, it looks like Zach Rattray White's in plenty of space to not have been impeded much.
Seems to be an interesting one to keep an eye on where he pops out relative to Dean Mackay. And that is Damon Woods re-entering fractionally ahead of Brad Coates, which is problematic because that puts Brad Coates a lap down. It's that battle between Brad Coates and Brendan Groach has been resolved, and Rattray White has managed to get back up ahead of Dean Mackay.
Now, I think Stephen McCartan has the freshest tyres of the top 5.
You reckon none of those go? Because it was only a splash they all required.
Yeah, I reckon Woods, Rattray White, Mackay and Lewis Greathead have all gone fuel only at their very, very final stop, whereas McCartan was aiming, instead of for 3 stops, aiming for 2 full stops. His last stop, he went new tyres 12 laps ago, and that makes his tyres 3 laps fresher than Woods, Rattray White and Mackay, and 4 laps fresher than Lewis Greathead behind. I think that's not going to make you know, a race-winning difference for Stefan McCartan. He's not, you know, short oval on the newest tyres, Christian Rasmussen style. But what it does mean is it'll make it easier for Stefan McCartan, I think, to try to hold this track position on the restart if his tyres are just a little newer than everyone else in the top 5.
And have a look at the temperature games being played in the tyres here right now. You can see a fair chunk of the field is aggressively trying to maintain temperature. There's always the debate in ages gone by about whether weaving does something to the tyres. Well, I can tell you, in the latest generation of GT3 tyres, you need temperature any which way you can get it. So it doesn't matter what little gain there is, it is a gain, and that means you need it. Conveniently, though, for us, it also picks up some of the rubber buildup that's just fractionally offline. So it also serves to widen that racing groove when we go back to green flag racing. I wonder whether or not we'll grab a second lap under this safety car too, which might just leave us with about 10 minutes sprint racing to go.
You kind of have to wave around, don't you?
There's a lot of cars.
Feels like you should in a moment. Let's get Lawrence Stroll on the phone and ask for a pink F1 safety car. I'm down.
I agree.
Yeah, we got the red Mercedes and the green Aston Martin. Here comes the wave around. So the whole field follows the safety car to the left-hand side of the racetrack, and then the lap down car's going to get out of the way. Obviously good news for Zach Trey White, Dean Mackay, Stefan McCartan, Lewis Greathead that they get to restart in line just behind Damon Woods. Well, maybe McCartan would have liked a little bit more traffic to protect him behind from some of the really quick guys back there like Adam Hughes, Richard Mitchum, Lachlan Capel's going to restart out in 9th with in 8th with Shepherd in 9th.
Well, that's a net gain for Lachlan Capel too, because remember, after that moment, he was just ahead of Richard Mitchum. So he's then going to get that opportunity to go back toe-to-toe with those guys after the mistake. So all in all, that actually hasn't cost him anywhere near that much.
You'd be used to, you know, skipping to the front of the queue at your business class check-in, or, you know, on the guest list at the club, wouldn't you, Scott Rankin?
No, absolutely not. That has never happened to me. I wish. I would love that. About the closest I might be an express pass at one of the theme parks. That always makes you feel very fancy and expensive, isn't it?
When was the last time you took a numbered ticket and had to wait at a deli?
I've taken the ticket, but wait, no. The amount of times that it happens down here that you take a ticket at the deli and then they just go, "Are you were next, were you?" Yeah, sweet.
I feel like as a kid it was a thing that happened all the time, and now I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know when the last time I had to wait for 200 grams of champagne leg ham was.
Well,
how about? Oh, does Brandon Grotch get to the end from here? Because I was about to say, boom, plus 23 positions, massive mover. Touch and go, but I don't think he does. Last stop 14 laps ago, 7 laps to go. Actually, yeah, with 2 laps behind the safety car, yeah, I reckon he gets to the end.
This car's actually going to pick up a little bit of speed here to try and give everyone the opportunity to try and get some heat and temperature into their tyres. And the big thing, and worthwhile noting, is that all we need is to cease the instant that car pulls away.
So Groch is also going to 2-stop this. And this, he wasn't going to be able to. McCartan was touch and go. Groch wasn't going to be able to, but then the timing of the safety car, Brandon Groch has gone, "Oh, you beauty, I think I'm on here."
I think he's still got some saving to go, whereas Stefan McCartan definitely will not have any required of him.
There's 2 laps behind the safety car where you're burning less fuel, and it wipes 1 lap off the race distance. I think that double whammy effect, you save so much fuel in timed, not distance races when a safety car comes out.
Well, here's the thing. We've got 10 minutes and 30 seconds left on that clock. We are not going to get back to the start-finish line until about 9:40 or so. There's not enough time to eke that extra lap out. It is going to be a 5-lap race from here. No matter what happens, we're waiting on the safety car to get back into the pit lane. So when this one goes back to green, you know, Brendan Groach won't make it. I reckon he's got enough fuel. So we're going to go 58 laps.
All of the same mental work to arrive at my conclusion.
Yeah.
There's obviously everyone else has made their final stop, so I've got to assume Groach has stayed out because he thinks it's possible and it's worth the go.
That's worth a
free flag on the track
for him. He's in the right position. Weavings to cease. Fields start to fill in. And by the way, the lapped cars that unlap themselves are just about to catch the rear end of the queue. 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in this one. Damon Woods is going to lead us back to green flag. Racing, 5 laps remain for the opening race of the SUDSPEED GT3 Open Championship from Premier Endurance League. Woods to lead us away. Rattray White, Dean Mackay, Stefan McCartan in 4th, who no longer has a fuel question mark over his head. He is free to race. And the question will be, what does he have for Lewis Greathead? Does he have anything for the cars ahead? Does he have anything for the Mustangs? And there's an issue for Ben Jeffrey on the start-finish straight.
Clearly some contact on the race start and through the loop in Village, one of the slower parts of the racetrack. Always a massive concertina effect there at any point, and on this restart, it's clearly having an effect as well. Some drivers still in search of a bit of tyre temperature. It looks like Shepherd having just a bit of a weave on the Wellington straight.
Oh, Dean Mackay is really struggling at this point in time for P3. I think he might have taken a fresh set of tyres. There is Ben Jeffrey going around. Hard into the main straight wall. That's the replay of the number 150. It was slow on that restart. And crawling away at the rear end of the field, McCartan, after being on the back foot, after being on the fuel save, is now on the front foot. That Mustang ahead of him has struggled through a bunch of corners, and Chalk cops up as another one.
So McCartan thinks he can get to a podium. Lewis Greathead ran so wide out of Cop's corner. He's got a slowdown. So does Matt Arnold. They're all doing it. Oh, dramas perhaps for Groach here.
Yeah, Groach is that the 86? 86 has died to pit lane, which is indeed Brendan Groach.
It's the old pit exit. So he's also had dramas at Cop's. 5-6 cars still lacking tyre temperature, struggling at the really high speed corners.
More drama. More drama a little bit deeper in the field as well. And at the moment, Dean Mackay is just barely trying to hang on to this one. Something else has also happened to Ethan Bass as well. Adam Jepson gets down in deep here, and the wiggle on the rear end of the Mercedes does not want to be compliant at that point in time. Then we'll wait for the rejoin. And he's got to feed in somewhere. He's on the grass, and the Porsche tries to go around the outside of him, just barely gets him.
I think if he'd just driven onto the track there, but he stayed on the grass and then rejoined at the apex of the corner. I don't know, it's always tough to judge how much space you've got, and you don't have a great run up to try to get up to speed either.
Ethan Bass has just been issued a penalty for the incident on race restart lap 54, so something went on there. McCartan's not got the same amount of pressure he was applying last lap to Dean Mackay. And indeed, Adam Hughes is going to go and start crawling all over the rear bumper of that Ferrari.
So Greathead and Mitchum made an engineered swap to put Mitchum ahead. Dylan Shepherd's pressuring Lachlan Capel. He looks very racy for those cars inside of the top 10, and this is Bass on the restart. Oh, there's a big check-up.
That's the number 12, the yellow Mirabella machine checking up on the inside. And that's what caused this huge stack up.
So there's a top 5 and there's the rest, because Mitchum and Greathead maybe struggling a tiny bit for pace, not able to go with those top 5. And they've in fact got some of the oldest tyres inside of this top 10. Shepherd was doing all he could to get some temperature into his, and it seemed to be working. Lachlan Capel, pretty pacey. McCartan loses out to Hughes.
Yeah, I think that might have been a slowdown penalty. or a little bit of team orders going that way, one of the two. Regardless, Damon Wood still leads. 5 minutes, 30 seconds now on the clock. There'll be 3 laps from here. And regardless with how it's gone for Brendan Groach, I am still curious about the fuel question mark and whether or not he can make it.
Reusing my old material, it was a total eclipse of the restart. But yeah, there is a bit of team play still happening throughout the field, so you've got Eclipse looking for that 1-2. Yeah, the Vermilion guys here between Greathead and Mitchum trying to engineer something and an opportunity. Mitchum might have just said, I got a bit more pace. Shepard's tyre temperature advantage on the restart seems to have dulled somewhat, so he's no longer as close to Capel as he was, and Sutton is close enough behind him. Stuart Ellis hanging on for a top 11.
Stuart Ellis was very, very close. Luffield just there. And there was a penalty now for that re-entry that we saw earlier on as well for the 525 machine. Unsafe re-entry, 10-second time penalty will be added post-race. Mark Foster was the recipient of the contact, and that one's jumped to pit lane to repair that car.
You smell a new fastest lap of the race cooking?
Potentially. Tyre temperature's low, fuel weight's low. A reset, theoretically. Last time by 58.5 for Damon Willis. Fastest so far, 58.2. Track temps dive just a little bit. If it's going to happen, it might happen any time from now. 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. 2 to go when they hit the stripe. And for Damon Woods, 58.3. Misses out on the new fastest lap of the race by 34 thousandths of a second. But at the moment, night and day, quickest car in the field. You're looking at 3 to 4 tenths back to the next lap times at the moment. That second little group is going to be spicy, and this is the spicy battle between Eli Donaldson and Nick Carroll, because Carroll's managed to get great drive. On the run of Brooklands, gets to the inside. And then he's going to get the elbows out before the entry at Luffield. And Carroll's had to come from pit lane. He's now all the way through to about 12th spot, looking for the over and under. Does get drive down the inside. And here comes Woodcock the kink. To the inside. Is he cut a break? Though. Or is Eli Donaldson going to chance it around the outside at Cops? No, he's going to try and switch him back and get back underneath. Can he get the drive out the other side? He's certainly trying to. Does pull back alongside. We'll go side by side through Maggots and Beckett's with a little bit of bravery.
In theory, Donaldson's got significantly newer tyres here. That's all off the road. You can't quite rejoin like that, can you?
Well, Matt Webber's going to try and over and under the pair of them and get back to the power. And there's a car that's been turned around in the background, and it's Michael Pepper. And Donaldson's unhappy with the rejoin.
Sure looked like he was 4 in the grass and then came back on and blocked the line. If you go that deep in the corner and you go off the track, you're not entitled to have the space in the next part.
Well, I wonder how he didn't pick up himself up a slowdown penalty. He might have picked it up and cleared it just with all the junk that was going on.
White flag's out for Damon Woods leading this race. Now 2 seconds clear of his teammate Zach Rattray White. Or is it not? It must be.
Surely it must be. Barney apparently is not a fan of waving the white flag, and that might be an omen to the French.
He's had too many Greg's sausage rolls and he's a bit tired.
Did have homemade sausage rolls actually earlier in the day, so they were grand, and it did make me want to go and have a grand nap and not wave a white flag. Race controller are still investigating that rejoin moment, so we may not get a result in time for the drop of the cup. And I'll walk that back because we have received the time penalty that's just come through. Nick Carroll's been handed 5 seconds post-race for the unsafe rejoin with contact. So that's effectively a redress, but the issue is he's going to lose about 4 or 5 spots as a result of that penalty. And Eli Donaldson will not want to fight that one now to the end of the race. He want to use it as defensive material to hold off Matt Webber in behind. Damon Woods down the hanger straight for the final time.
Scordilis with another black flag, so I think he had the 40 incident points and then he's gone over 10.
And there might have been contact on the way through Maggots, Beckett's, and out the other side at Chapel. And Capel nearly gets into Eli Donaldson in the rejoin, by the way, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Damon Woods, in the meantime, has led every single lap today by the ones in the pit cycle. He's going to chalk up another one, and it's one race, one win in the series for the driver of the 25 machine. Eclipse Sim Sports will take 1-2, and Dean Mackay, defending champion, gets home in third. Great start at the defense. Adam Hughes from Stephen McCartan. Richard Mitchum in behind those guys. Capel's going to go the long way round at the final turn on Matt Arnold. And that might be a slowdown penalty for him, unfortunately, crossing the finish line outside the track boundaries.
Angus Lawford also with a black flag, so a couple of drivers hitting the 40 incident limit right at the end. This is what happened for Lachlan Capel.
Shepard gets down the inside and rotates the number 8. So race control will be having a look at that one to finish us off, because that happened on the final lap of the race. So job done in 2 hours from Silverstone for Damon Woods, but you were expecting that from him. Dean Mackay got a lot closer in qualifying than I think he was definitely expecting, so you'll be proud of that effort.
I think most everyone's taken the checkered flag at this point. Lachlan Capel hasn't been demoted from 14th. Scordilis is going to be quite significantly demoted with the black flag that he picked up on the final lap. Same too for Angus Lawford. They both go to the last cars on the lead lap because you can't serve the drive-through penalty when there's no laps left to drive through.
Yep. And results coming our way. Damon Woods gets it done from Zach Rattray White. Dean Mackay, Adam Hughes, Stephen McCartan, top 5. Car 488, I'm just listening because there's just some more penalties that have been coming through as well. Car 488 got 5 seconds for contact and then another 10 for the unsafe re-entry. So 15 in total. He's going to get shuffled massively down. Richard Mitchell from Lewis Greathead. Dylan Shepard is under investigation at this point in time as well. Sam Sutton from Stuart Ellis inside of the top 10. Outside the 10, Nick Carroll will get demoted down to 31 seconds. In fact, I think it'll actually be longer than that because he picked up a penalty earlier in the race as well. So it'll be about 35 to 40 seconds. Eli Donaldson will get promoted that one spot there. Matt Webber, Lachlan Capel contact in the final lap. Matt Arnold from Will Buchanan, Ethan Bass drops down to 17th spot. Tommy Wallace, Brendan Groach gets home in 19th. So the fuel strategy didn't work out, but there was an issue on the restart lap that triggered that. Trent Allen home in 20th spot as they crossed on the line. Minor penalties will shuffle that one. Apologies, just listening into some stuff still coming in between Vinnie Nguyen and the 52 entry of Angus Lawford, which was deemed no further action. Stuart Shaw from Brad Coates, Brock Kadai, Benjamin Brook, Mike Pepper, Trent Naylor, Vinnie Nguyen, Nathan Tapp, Adam Jepson, and Ben Jeffrey. 30 cars home on the lead lap at least here, Dave.
Yeah, last cars on the lead lap. Kurt Chapman, Andrew Scordilis, Angus Lawford, Terry Marsh 1 lap down, Mark Foster 3 laps, PJ Whiteman 3 laps, Elio Mirabella 4 laps. Getting into some retirement territory here with Robert Crisdale, Bobby Camo, and Adam Burhop. And then a couple more. with Gregory Brooks, Andrew Dutch, James Scott, Adam Wright. Ricky Provenzale did just a couple of laps. Same for Jesse Butler. Safety car did 1 or 2 laps. I don't think Leith McClyman actually started.
I don't think he did as well. And that is final results coming our way. Post-race interview is about to kick off. And it is going to be our top 3. We'll jump from 3rd and work our way up to race winners. So we'll start with tonight's 3rd place finisher, defending champion Dean Mackay. And when the qualifying results were flown at the end of that session, did you have a thought that you'd be within 0.02 of a second of Damon Woods?
I knew it was going to be close. Yeah. Yeah, qualifying was good for me. Very good. I think the other guys got a bit faster, especially Damon as the race went on. But overall, yeah, very good start. Yeah, to the race, excluding that I missed the start, but we won't talk about that.
Obviously, just trying to get it down into turn 1, and particularly with these cars on cold tyres as well. We're seeing a lot of issues for the Mustangs with that left rear tyre in particular. It seemed like the way to sort of dial some turn and some point into what looks to be clearly the strongest car in the class for right now is certainly to throw a lot of entry and mid-corner rotation. Were you having any issues with managing that left rear tyre here tonight?
Only on the cold tyres, I think. The balance was pretty manageable over the stint, but like, yeah, after the safety car and coming out the pits, you gotta be a bit careful on the rears, especially with it being a front engine car.
Mate, in terms of things this season, we're off to the Bend next time out. Comfort level in the Mustang at the Bend?
Well, I did a few laps and it felt really good, to be honest. We'll have to see what the new season brings, you know, bop-wise. But I'm feeling pretty confident for it. It's a bit of a change from, you know, the Porsche, which I've run the past couple of seasons. But yeah, it's good fun in the Mustang.
Mate, congratulations on coming away with P3 here tonight. Who'd you like to give a thank you to?
First, thanks to all my teammates who were in the race with me. And also thanks to our sponsor, Astro Energy.
Mate, congratulations on getting it done for P3 here tonight. Go off and enjoy the results.
Will do. Cheers.
I'm going to take one step forward in terms of the podium standings. David Haynes is sitting by with Zach Rattray White.
Well, just a little touch and go around those final pit stops between yourself and Dean Mackay, but you managed to get through, get that second place, hold it after the restart, and get that Eclipse Sim Sports 1-2 that I'm sure you guys were really hoping for.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping I'd be a bit closer to Damo, but I think that kind of showed the caliber of his driving and his skill set, so he kind of just sailed off into the sunset. And I don't know, the car was really good, but I just found it a little uncomfortable at this track and didn't quite enjoy it as much as he did, clearly. So, I mean, it was enough to stay in front of Dean, and we did get that one too, but yeah, a little bit of work to do on my end, I guess, for next round.
Strategy really gets driven by that 60% fuel tank cap. It looked like everyone was headed for 2 stops and a splash, and then the safety car changed that for some. And so what was your thought before the drop of the green flag, and what had to get adjusted?
Well, we didn't take tyres in the first stop because that would have just meant we take two full stints on one set of tyres, and that would save us quite a few laps on the tyres at the end of the race, which I don't think quite a few other cars did. It did work in our favour, but we found that the wind was quite strong here. I think it was like a 26 km/h tailwind on the exit of Cops, so it was I nearly lost it there one lap and dropped a whole load of time, which kind of just sunk my strategy. Yeah, I still think we had enough fuel to cover Dean in the final stop, regardless of a safety car or not. But yeah, it definitely makes a big difference compared to a full tank.
And then the track limits around here, I've got stuff that pops up whenever anyone's got a slowdown penalty. And I think all day, all race, someone somewhere had a slowdown penalty. What are the key corners that people are struggling with here?
It's mainly just the exits with the copious amount of runoff you have here. You can kind of just, you know, push it to the extreme. Not too much. You can kind of judge where the slowdown's going to be, and you get 40x for these races, so you can kind of take an X off like every lap. So, yeah, I don't think I got too pushy with it because I was kind of fighting the car, but you can push it a little too far sometimes.
Well, congratulations. Great to have you for this new season, and enjoy the podium.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we're going to get the opportunity to chat to tonight's race winner. One entry in the series, one race win. Then was nice and comfortable and confident from the top step of the podium. That pace in that Mustang looked supreme here tonight. That just seems to be the balance of where the performance is in this class, although changes to come in a week's time in this category at season's end.
Yeah, the Mustang's a little bit overpowered at the moment, so it's unfortunate we're not seeing a variety of cars, but yeah, we'll see what the update brings. I'm sure with the drop of the Aston, it's going to be probably the most OP car, so we'll see what happens, but yeah, at the moment, Mustang's feeling pretty hooked up.
Mate, I was keeping an eye on the attitude of that car late on in the stints, particularly towards the back end of that race, just prior to that safety car. Looks like the balance on that car was supreme tonight, particularly on the long run. You weren't having too many issues with the performance in the rear end. It just seemed nice, natural turn in. There was no real wiggle or instability halfway through the turns.
Yeah, I mean, with all the experience I've got racing with the European boys, we tend to set up our setups to really be good on the long run. A little bit nervous to start with, but as the tyre starts to wear in, the car really maximizes the performance. So yeah, set it up a little bit on the Talia side, but yeah, she came in good towards the end of the stint.
Mate, series is off to Ben Motorsport Park next time out, and realistically, I think one of the biggest challenges about that racetrack is just the raw lack of braking markers that you've got out and around the track. It's one of those tracks you've really got to put a lot of practice in, because I feel like the flow is the big thing. It's not necessarily looking for the markers. You got to take a read on how the car's feeling, the flow, the lap, putting it all together. It's not a track you can just sit down and get comfortable in straight away. Yeah,
I mean, if you haven't got the rhythm at this track, it's hard to just put in consistent laps. But yeah, luckily tonight was in a good rhythm. Yeah, the car was on rails, as I said. So yeah, just kept cracking on and putting in consistent laps.
Finally, congratulations here tonight, Damon, getting it done. Who would you like to give a thank you to for supporting you?
Big thanks to the Eclipse boys, Zach for rocking up with me as well. 5-6 Sim Coaching and Lucid Drive for performance, and the boys at PEL for putting on the event. So cheers, boys.
Mate, congratulations and enjoy the celebrations. Like we said, ladies and gentlemen, tonight was race number 1 of season 2 for 2025 in the SUDSPEED GT3 Open Series. A couple of weeks from now, we'll be off to the Bend on Sunday, the 14th of September. All the action there going to kick off from 7:55 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And the thing is, Dave, that Bend track it's not as it looks on the tin. A lot of doubling back in a lot of the apexes, balanced flow. You've got to have a car that's balanced through the middle of the corner.
And it's a pretty good track for GT racing, to be honest. It's almost like the bloke who paid for it likes driving a GT3 car or two as well, and he likes testing his own GT3 car there. And I've really enjoyed it since we've had the Bend. Looking forward to these cars racing there.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to conclusion here tonight. Next time out will be for the GT3 Open Series, proudly brought to you by SUDSPEED on the 14th of September. But the weekend after that will be off to the Bend once again. So it'll be open, followed by limited series in the Premier Endurance League, brought to you by Dash Off-Road as well on the 21st of September. Times will be exactly the same to bring you that one before there's a little bit of a break to Watkins Glen in October. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on behalf of the series, on behalf of all of our sponsors that make it possible, and the commentators at SimSpeed. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again in a couple weeks' time.